Whoopi Goldberg slams the new Bud Light Clydesdale ad and defends Dylan Mulvaney. Also, a Clydesdale-sized he-she speaks on behalf of a California school board regarding a policy that involves keeping secrets from parents, and they vote to uphold the policy. Next, violent teen mobs implode in Chicago and Baltimore while city leadership make excuses. And Moroccan footballer Achraf Hakimi's wife loses out in divorce as she finds out the player registered all of his assets in his mother's name. And lastly, we break down our political perspectives and how they factor in on our stances on laws, policies, and social issues. I think you're going to be surprised at what you find out. All that and more next. Enemy territory here. Hello, it's Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, and let me introduce you to my co-hosts. We have Shelly E, Yana, T, and Kendra. Join the conversation by leaving a comment on our Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. We will check the comments periodically throughout the show. And don't just comment, subscribe. Subscribe to our social media so you always know when we post new content. Also, if you like independent media and want to support what we do, donate. Any amount is appreciated. You can check us out on our website at www.popandpoliticslive.com for up-to-date information. And hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We certainly need it. We appreciate all the support. Independent media is on the rise, and we have to support each other. So hit that subscribe button and do it while it's free. Because a lot of places with this, we have very good content. A lot of people charge for this type of content. Quality content, entertaining, but we do not yet. So get in on it. Again, we are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. All right, ladies, let's set it off. We're going to get right into it. Yes, tonight we're going to start out with The View. So honestly, I'd rather sit in my window and take in the view of flies hovering over dung than watch ABC's The View. But we have to call them out when they hurl vicious misinformation and disrespect. And they've done it again. Take a look at this. This is clip number 1.
Okay, guys.
Oops, actually, let me continue on there. That's all right. Actually, we don't have a clip for that. Let me tell you what's going on. So The View aired recently, and basically Whoopi Goldberg went off on the Bud Light thing going on with Dylan Mulvaney. So she says here, listen, Budweiser, we are all Americans here. We appreciate your beer, whether it's light or regular beer. You have every right, and we have every right to buy it if we like it. She said this was on Monday's episode. Don't let them scare you. Let us scare you, she said. She's referring to the protest that has been pretty much put forward on Bud Light after they had Dylan Mulvaney as an ad spokesperson for the beer. So Bud Light's sister brand, Budweiser, released an ad over the weekend featuring the famous Anheuser-Busch Clydesdale horses. So it's very all-American, this new ad that they put out. And basically Whoopi Goldberg seemed perplexed at it and angered over it. She also said the company puts out a statement saying they didn't mean to address an issue that divided people, but I want to know, what are you so angry about? beer does not have, I mean, it's not Democrat or Republican. It doesn't have a belief system. It's just beer. So she basically, also added how, people who were pushing this boycott were highly transphobic, and really gave Bud Light a real reaming. So I want to start off with you, Shelley. What do you think about the way she reacted to the boycott of Bud Light from people who are upset about them having a trans activist, Dylan Mulvaney, represent them in an ad?
Well, when I saw that, I got scared. I got scared because I used to be able to tell the difference between a Clydesdale and Whoopi's ass. But when I saw that clip, I couldn't tell the difference. So I got scared. I mean, I thought something was going on with my eyes, but I got scared about that. So I'm a little leery now about looking at a Clydesdale because I don't know if it's called a Whoopi Dale or not. But nevertheless, she's talking about be afraid of us. Don't be afraid of whomever. Guess what? Conservatives buy beer too. That's why the sales are going down with Bud Light. You can still buy the Bud. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it because she don't need any more damn beer. She doesn't need anything else for about another year to eat. But we don't want to buy it. We don't want to buy it. Go buy all the beer you want. Maybe you might need to go buy some hay and live in the barn with the Clydesdales because that's how you all act on the damn View. Let me tell you another thing that they're afraid of. They are afraid, the View, Whoopi, they're afraid of bringing us on their show. See, they get these lightweight people that come on and placate them. And, they laugh and they joke and they make fun of people. They're afraid to bring us. Bring us, okay? I'll bring the hay. You just bring the barn and we'll meet you at the View.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. She says that this whole ordeal, when we saw how many people have decided to boycott Bud Light, she said America is transphobic. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Is that why people are boycotting this, because they don't like the trans community?
Well, I think people do not like when the trans agenda is being pushed on them through every means possible. I think that if it wasn't pushed on people as much as it is, people would not be boycotting anything. But what's happening? This is a new world order that is being pushed on the whole world, and the new world order is to transform the world. They want to transform everything, and so Whoopi is a spokesperson for this new order. So of course she's going to keep pushing the agenda.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this, T? Again, we've talked about Dylan Mulvaney on this show. He is a trans activist. He did the whole thing about 365 days becoming a girl. I believe he's in his late 20s. And he was the spokesperson for Bud Light. What does it say for a company like this to have him as the spokesperson?
It says nothing differently than any of the other companies. I mean, this is the way that every company wants to be, this diverse equity and inclusion and now belonging. So it's them just showing that, hey, us too, we can get along with the he, she's and the it's and the days and the who's and the whatevers. And we can be a company, drink our beer. Because first of all, who drinks Bud? Who drinks Bud Light? So they need all of the help that they can get. So this is probably just a push to try to get to stay relevant, because nobody's drinking the shit anyway.
All right, I want to go to you, Kendra, but before I do, I want to play this. This is clip 7. This is actress Patti LuPone. She was on The View, and she had some comments in regards to conservatives and Christians on how they view trans people. Take a look here.
DeSantis and the LGBTQ.
Well, that's extremely upsetting.
Yeah.
That is extremely upsetting. These are human beings.
Yeah.
And I could cry. They're not harming anybody.
No.
I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know. I mean, you know, and I've said this before, and I'm going to get in trouble. But I have said this before, and it's been in print. I don't know what the difference between our Christian right and the Taliban is. I have no idea what the difference is.
You're not the only person who's said that.
I just don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
What's happening in this country right now in the name of religion is so dangerous. Yeah. And it's not this country. It's not America as far as... And you know, when I was growing up, I didn't know America was an experiment. They never said America was an experiment. When we were growing up, it was a democracy. And now it's in, you know, such danger. It's so upsetting. Yeah. It's so upsetting. And it's upsetting to hear the loudest voices and not any kind of pushback to the loudest voices that are the extremity in this country.
All right. So I want to go to you first, Kendra, on the response. She's comparing the Christian right, she said, to the Taliban. Is that a fair comparison?
I think that's a little far-fetched. I do think that we lose the love thy neighbor as thyself scripture at times when trying to make a point of this is what we believe. Sometimes it comes off, even if it's not meant as hate, and that just is delivery. But I don't think as much as to call it the Taliban. I don't think so. I don't think that, but I do think that as far as the Budweiser commercial, here's my thing, and this is I'm not trans. I'm a whole woman out here in these streets, but I think that companies can choose who they use as their spokespeople. I mean, that's well within their right. And if they want to put he, she, them, they, R, Y, X, element of P, whatever the letter is, if they want to use them, then they're well within their right to do that. And if you don't want to support them because they use them, you're well within that right too. I don't drink beer, so I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm a liquor drinker. Okay. Now, if this was Tito's, I might feel differently. But as far as Budweiser, Bud Light, I don't give a damn. But I think that it's just trans people are able to live their life the way they want. If people want to pay them to support their brand, get your check, get your money. That's called entrepreneurship, capitalism. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. They got to get coins too.
Okay. I don't think anybody was saying that that Budweiser didn't have the right to have Dylan Mulvaney, trans activist, who pushing the idea that he is a woman. Behind. I don't think anybody said that it wasn't a right. They didn't have the right to do it. But again, people also have the right to say, you know what, if this is what you are supporting as a company.
Absolutely. If that sword cuts both ways. You can say I support it, and I can say I'm not drinking your beer because you do. Right. So I mean, I think that that's perfectly fine. Like I said, they ain't getting no dollar out of me either way because I don't drink beer.
Okay.
So
I need to respond to Miss Patty over there. Because when I saw that clip, I've been revved up all day. I want to explain to her dumb ass, okay, what the difference is between Christians and the Taliban, okay? Nowhere are Christians cutting people's heads off, holding children back, girls from schools, educating them for their religion or any other reason. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, just about 2 weeks ago, it was a trans person that slaughtered 6 Christians in their church or in their school. So who's killing who? Talking about Aretha Franklin? Who's zooming who? She's ignorant. And she's talking about she's never heard that America was an experiment. Let me tell you why people say that, dumb ass. And she's older than I am. They say it was an experiment because never in the history of time has a country been built on these foundations, on this foundation that we have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And in now 200 plus something years, we are a relatively young nation, okay? The third thing she's dumb about, America has never been a democracy. It has been a republic, and that's part of the big problem. People don't understand the difference. This is how dumb, like I said, they won't bring us on The View with the Clydesdale Whoopi and the dumb ass Patty. They won't bring us there. Okay, because we will correct them and school them on why they're so ignorant and dumb. But these people get the light. Taliban and Christians are starkly different. Okay, Christians are not extreme. She's extreme. And with those extreme ideas, this is why the left is trying to take down this experiment, this Republican experiment called America.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. We do see this idea. It does feel like, and this is me as a faith-based person, a Bible believer, Christians are under attack. And you've mentioned this before on the show. This is something that that the left does, that the communist does, Marxism, how they attack religion. Do you see that is this something that you see is going on? Christianity, religion is under attack?
Well, it's been under attack for sure. And this is just a continuation of the same agenda. As I said before, it's this new world order that they're trying to implement. They do not want any type of faith. So, of course, for them, the Taliban or the Christians in America, the same thing. Because we like family values, we agree with the Taliban also like to keep the families together. So somehow we're similar. So it's absolutely an attack on Christians, and it's dehumanizing. What she said is dehumanizing. When she said, I don't see a difference, so she basically said that we're like terrorists because Taliban have been terrorizing. They've terrorized our country and and their own people. So she basically compared I don't know, millions of people, like a half of the population at least of the United States as a terrorist.
Yeah. You drop any trans person here, take them over there and drop them in the Taliban and see if they come out alive. And let's see who the terrorists really are. Because here they're safe. They're safe, amongst Christians. Certainly, no Christian is calling for a trans person to be beheaded or burned alive. No Christian is doing that. But let's drop them over there in the Taliban and see how safe Dylan Mulvaney's ass would be over there.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this.
Definitely not his ass.
Yeah, he would have tore that ass. They got to tore that ass up. T, I want to get your thoughts on this, because just as looking at this, I know you are not practicing Christian, but someone, spiritual, what do you feel? Do you feel, you heard Kendra say that, Christians do have a tendency to do this, you see it come off as a little bit more hateful instead of more of the love thy neighbor as thyself. What do you feel? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like this attack on Christianity is warranted?
No, I think it's the opposite, actually. I think that the Christians are being attacked. Christians, I mean, you should be a little bit more radical and not letting this agenda actually penetrate as much as it should. I don't see how Christians are letting or are being okay with this transgender or this LGBT community, the agenda and everything. You should push back a little bit more, because you aren't radical enough, actually, because Christians are the ones that are like, oh, love everybody, love this, love that. Y'all should be practicing, I don't want to say y'all should be practicing hate, but y'all should be standing up to this abomination a little bit more than you are.
Yeah, and another thing, I want to speak for myself. You didn't have people up in arms about drag clubs. You had drag clubs for years. People of all different types would go to drag shows, drag clubs, gay clubs. Adults would enjoy themselves for many years doing this. It didn't become an issue for Christians, for parents, until they started pushing this stuff on kids.
Right.
So for them to say that, this woman, she's getting all choked up on The View and, the hate that these people are experiencing, I don't understand where that's coming from. Even what you said, Kendra, I don't see it. Again,
they're creating it. They're creating all the hoopla behind it as well.
Here's my thing. I think that when you look at the beer ad or whatever, your kids shouldn't be drinking beer. You got to be 21 to drink. So I get now, if this was orange juice, if this was Tropicana, if this was Simply, if this was something that,
honest kids.
But your toddler shouldn't be drinking Budweiser anyway. They don't need to. Well, it doesn't affect their life in any way, shape, or form if a trans activist tells 21 and older, "Hey, drink a Budweiser." That does not affect the children. It doesn't.
Well, one thing, first of all, why are we putting politics in something like this?
It shouldn't be. If you want to be,
no. If they had somebody else,
so it's him. So if I was trans, could I represent Budweiser?
Or he is a trans activist. Everything about him has been pushing, and not just he pushes it on kids, adults, everybody. They're pushing it. He's trying to erase women.
He met with Biden. He went to the White House to meet with.
I get that, but
why are they infusing politics in business?
Okay, so what you're saying is that
it's not politics
out of business, or
it's an agenda.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's politics. It's the agenda. It's a bit different.
If that's the case, then Cheerios, when they did the biracial couple with the kids, then someone would say that should stay out of business too. Because
a biracial couple, a man and a woman,
right? Or even if it's two men or whatever. Because if you're saying keep it out, if someone would say, "Hey, you're pushing the straight narrative on me because you trying to tell me that this white woman and this black man and these Cheerios is what we're supposed to do." So I don't understand.
No, wait a minute. Specifically for that, when you have a married couple on a box of cereal, Cheerios is a long-time American favorite, so it represents the family. The couple could be whatever color, but they were a man, a woman, and a child.
That's what you're saying. But
in America, where families don't, you might have a trans mama and a daddy, or a trans mama and a mama, or however they address or whatever. That's also, for some children, that will be their reality and be their family. So I'm just saying, I don't have a dog in this fight, but what I'm saying is, I think that
don't have
where you put, it's like, if you give it attention, you're adding fuel to the fire. If you don't want to buy the Budweiser because they had trans activists, don't buy the Budweiser or the Bud Light or whichever one. If you don't want to support it, okay. But I think when we start talking about it and we make a big deal out of it, it adds fuel to the fire, because now everybody, let me go YouTube the commercial to see what the people talk about. I didn't even know there was a commercial till y'all.
That's marketing. That's what that is. It's marketing, and they're using the agenda.
Well, but Kendra, what you are saying is true. It's absolutely true. People have a right to choose not to buy it, and that's exactly what happened. That's when their sales dropped.
They're saying it's wrong.
But now we see, but now the left is blaming us for choosing not to buy the product. And we're not transphobic because we chose not to buy the product. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about their response to consumers making a choice.
Right. And you guys
they do not like us to have that, to make that choice. They want us to just consume and drink and swallow all of this nonsense, all of this trans ideology.
Drink and be merry.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. Drink and be merry. Have a drink, sip, or don't.
Right. I mean, but people like you kind of upset me, because, you talk about this stuff and you don't see the significance of the agenda. And, and you Christian. So I love that. But it's like, you got this whole mentality. Live and let live, let everybody, it doesn't bother me, so you go ahead and do you. This is how we got to where we are today.
And that's not my stance.
My schools. This is why
we're here. It's not that it doesn't affect me. It's just the fact that people have the right to choose how they live. Companies have the choice to choose who they hire.
And it's only going to get worse.
People are going to do what they want to do.
It's only going to get worse from here.
My business. At the end of the day, if y'all don't want to support them, because that's fine. And I just feel like everybody has their right to choose. You choose whether you support or not. I'm gonna choose whether I support or not. If it's not my line in my pockets, either way. They didn't call me for the commercial. Now, had they called me, then it might be a little different. If I didn't get chosen because they didn't call me back, I might would have felt away. But they ain't called me. So since they ain't called me, baby, I don't drink beer
right, so you don't care. This doesn't mean anything.
I just think that people have the right to live their life the way they want. Baby, if you want to try to spend hours a day to look like a woman, go off. I wake up every day looking like
well,
this.
Let's see if we care about this. So let's talk about this. The teen takeovers in Chicago and Baltimore. So last week we talked about in Baltimore and how these teens were getting shot, getting killed, and now it's in Chicago. Take a look at this. This is clip number 3. So this is what we had here last weekend in Chicago. Tons of violence. I believe actually 2 kids, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old male, was shot while standing in a crowd during the mayhem. So it was basically some type of thing where they called it online. A bunch of groups of kids got together and in downtown Chicago, smashing car windows, attacking bystanders, sending panic tourists running from the sound of gunfire. I mean, it was pure chaos. I want to start with you, Shelley. How could the police let this happen? And should we care about this? We're not there. None of our cars are there. We don't have any cousins or family here. Should we care?
Absolutely, we should care. And it's not just Chicago. Like you mentioned, it happened in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. Let me tell you why the police let it happen, or how could they? A few things. Number one, where are the parents? Okay, the parents should have known and been out there, or maybe not even had their children there. Where are the parents? Because all of those children were not 18 and over. Some of them were younger. That's number one. Number two, when you have movements for years now, we've been hearing defund the police, and the police are all bad. The police are killing black men and black boys everywhere, and the police are after us. All of these lies have consequences too. So therefore, the police are saying, why the heck am I going to risk my life when if I do that, then the next thing you know, I'm going to be on a trial for hurting a black kid or somebody getting shot when I'm defending myself and helping to defend the public safety. It's like 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. And at the end of the day, police officers want to go home to their families too. That is chaos, and it's in Baltimore. And another third thing, we have these politicians who think that opening a rec center a little bit longer, building dirt bike parks are going to help. They don't want bike parks. Guess what? They're animals. The Clydesdales are better behaved than these people are, okay? They're animals. Put them in a zoo or a jungle. They are animals, and put their parents there with them. I am sick of it, okay? If you are a parent and you let your child hang out, causing mayhem, running havoc through the city, you are pitiful. You are piss poor. You are trifling. You should be ashamed of yourself. And they need to lock you up and then put your child in the jungle. I'm sick of it. Adults, where are the adults? Where are the adults in the rooms? We have let these children just run amok, and we are afraid to say and embarrassed to say that we have created a Frankenstein here. And the Frankenstein is on the loose.
I want to get you in on this, Kendra. Now, you all the way in South Kakalaki. This is all the way in Chicago. You know, don't have nothing to do with you. You don't have a dog in the fight.
You don't have a dog in this fight. But I do have, my best friend lives in Chicago, so it does kind of sort of affect me because they were near her house. But either way, that's neither here nor there. Here's my thing. I think that the parents, I 100% agree. Like, had that been my mama and she got wind that I was out there, she would have whooped me at 35. At 35, if I'm raising havoc, she would have whooped me. But now, you know, we live in a society where, you know, gentle parenting, and we just, you know, we talk softly and stuff. Some of these kids need their ass whooped. And
that's not what's going on. They're not parenting at all.
Right. It's like they mentally checked out. I don't know. This would have never happened. And we don't live in a society anymore. It used to be, if I was out and I was cutting up and somebody knew my mama and they see me, they gonna yoke me up. Because, come here. Now, you know your mama ain't raised you like that. Get somewhere, and then she gonna call my mama. And then when I get home, then my mama gonna be like, well, you know, Shirley called me and told me you were showing your butt down there at the skating ring. And then I got to hear it all over again. Now I got a whoop, and now I'm mad at everybody. But I think these kids have no discipline. When you look at the little girl who slapped the substitute teacher yesterday, baby, listen, I would have did the same thing. She got booked. And I mean, It is what it
I
is.
want to talk let's talk about this. Take a look here. This is clip number 2 of an incident that occurred right there in Chicago. So there we had a mob of teenagers basically beat up some woman. And so that woman has been on the news after that. But I want to get your response to this, T. Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire. He said, you absolutely never see videos like this with races reversed. So he's talking about right there, we saw most of the people in the mob there were Black teenagers. And then in that clip, they were beating up a white lady. He says, never, doesn't exist. At some point, we need to discuss why this kind of violence literally always goes one way. So he's saying basically it's Black people committing this violence against whites. Is that a topic we need to start addressing? T, I want to get your thoughts there.
It's not only Blacks committing these crimes against whites, it's Blacks committing these crimes against Blacks. And that's the major issue. Like Shelley said, I mean, we do act like animals. Not all of us, but I mean, most people who ain't got the time, you should be worried about working and making money and doing something productive. But no, you want to go out and act up. So that's a major concern. And they need something to do. It may not be longer hours for rec centers, but they need something to do because that's a major concern in a lot of these cities. And it's like they're too busy pushing this alphabet agenda. They're not focused on quality education for these children. And what else are they going to do? Parenting aside, like what else do they have? What other options do they have other than to act like this? And it's sad because it's happening all over and it's not helping the community at all. We have all these grassroots organizations that are trying to be there and do things, but they can't do anything unless people want to be better. So it's really a catch-22.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Yana. I mean, many brought up race in the discussion as the teen mob consisted of, as I mentioned, of Black American youth. Should this have been considered a hate crime?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it depends on what they were saying and what was the motivation. So, I mean, they probably targeted this lady because she was white. I'm sure they might have said something that could have classified this or have a proof that this is a hate crime. I also want to kind of elaborate or say what might be causing young people to behave this way. Somebody mentioned parents. So these parents were raised on woke education. Their parents are not very old at this point. So and the thing about especially Black youth, Black people in general, there's this thing, the way that the attitude is that somebody owes them something, that the world is against them, or the white people are against them. And it's been pushed a lot in schools, even in decent schools, kind of like, even because I deal with kids, I see what they're being taught. So a lot of it has to do with this oppression, oppressor versus the oppressed. And so you keep pushing this type of narrative from school, from parents, from the media, and of course they're going to behave like this, like they're entitled and they deserve everything. If they want to walk into a store, they can just grab anything. And this is also part of the agenda. Actually, the people who want to change our world, who want to change the system to I guess their new world Marxist agenda, they want the riots. They want the masses to riot because they can say, look, they're not happy. Look, this is, it's because they, don't have enough. They're poor. So they're acting up. So we need to have a revolution and change the system and redistribute wealth.
And this is, at this point, it's not even about white supremacy. Like, how can you, that's why I don't think that CRT should be, it should be taught. These things should be taught in school because they're going to keep them oppressed. The children don't want to talk about Martin Luther King anymore. They want to talk about how they can make some money, or live life. So white supremacy, we can't blame it on that anymore. Like, think of something else to do or blame it on.
I think that there needs to be responsibility of the parents. See, and the thing about it, those kids, those ages would be, their parents should be around my age, should be dependent. But I think that when we were growing up, if we did something because it was the parents' responsibility, steal something, they're going to send your mama a bill. If your mama get enough bills that she got to pay, then maybe she'll yoke you up and you'll stop stealing. And I think that the problem is that there's no parental accountability in all of this. Like, first of all, why your kids out unsupervised? Do you know who your friends' kids are? Do you know who your kids' friends are? Do you know their mama? Do you know who taking them? Like, the parents don't be asking enough questions for me. They just be like, all right, bye. No, who you going with? Who her people is? What her mama name? What time you gonna be back? Call me when you get there. Don't do nothing stupid. I don't think they're having those conversations with these kids. They're literally like, hey, just get out the way. And I also want to take it to a point where when you look at, most of these mothers and fathers or families, they're working. So when you get to a certain age, they leave the kids to their own devices because they're old enough to stay home because they're working. Add inflation and milk being $79. You don't necessarily, these parents may not know that their kids are out there acting an ass until they see them on the news. But
I think,
that is what the left wants you to think.
I used to think that, but kids can be left at a certain age. Of course they can be, but before they even get to that age or whatever that maturity is, parents already know who their children are. They deny their nature, the children's nature. They deny it and they pacify it.
And they blame it on everybody else.
Right. You guys are talking about the parents. Look what the new mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, he says, and I quote, this is according to MSN.com, "In no way do I condone the destructive activity we saw in the Loop and Lakefront this weekend. It is unacceptable and has no place in our city. However, it is not constructive to demonize youth who have otherwise been starved of opportunities in their own community."
The hell it ain't.
Right.
You don't get
because that's what I'm saying.
You cannot get a wild lion out of the jungle unless you shoot him in the ass first. They belong in the jungle, okay? Wild animals are not
in the jungle. They're in the jungle. That is the jungle.
Animals are not automatically domesticated. They have to be shot and get doped up, right? So children don't come out of the womb already having social graces. They have to be taught and trained, okay? These are wild animals. The hell you can. And what does he mean he doesn't condone it? Why would you even need to say something like that? Who in their right mind?
I was going to say the next part of it where he said he was making excuses. But this isn't just Chicago.
Right. The problem is that everybody wants to make excuses for bad behavior. Right.
Like,
at the end of the day, they bad as hell. They need
he's going to ask for more taxes so we can build those rec centers for them, and we can create some opportunities. Work at a rec center where them children. That's what I mean. They want to equalize everyone, and they want to use these kids as an example of this is what happens in the capitalist society when the parents have to work. Right. And so
our former mayor gave them space to destroy.
But we're missing it.
They're coming from a certain.
I'm moving everything back to the trans. So y'all Kendra, you're gonna hate me today because I'm moving it back to that because that's the idea of the trans agenda. The agenda that they're on is to break up the family. And the idea on the left, what they continue to push is, I don't need a man, I don't need a father, I don't need a mother, I can have two mothers, I don't need anybody. The system can raise me, and this is what you get. Here, look at this. It's not just Chicago. Take a look at this. This is clip number 4, right here in Baltimore a couple years ago.
Questions. I'll just start off by saying, as far as the police response, the police has done, I think, one question and answer this evening, and will continue to make themselves available for updates on our public safety response. This is about our call for peace in the city, so we'll be taking questions about that. Any questions?
Mayor, is there anything that could have been done a little differently beforehand to head off some of the stuff that was happening down close to Inner Harbor and 20 yards this evening? Like, did you have a sense that they might try to go that way?
Well, we've had these types of conversations before, and I've made it very clear that I worked with the police and instructed them to do everything that they could to make sure that the protesters were able to exercise their right to free speech. It's a very delicate balancing act, because while we tried to make sure that they were protected from the cars and the other things that were going on, we also gave those who wished to destroy space to do that as well. And we worked very hard to keep that balance and to put ourselves in the best position to de-escalate, and that's what you saw this evening.
So you heard. Now that was, for people who don't know, that was Stephanie Rawlings Blake several years ago. She was mayor here in Baltimore City during the Freddie Gray riots, where they fought, they destroyed, and all types of stuff. Teenagers. There was a lot of young people. Did you hear what she said? She gave the order for the police to stand down and let them destroy. If we have to start thinking deeper. It's not just this face value stuff. It's not just about Budweiser having Dylan Mulvaney as a spokesperson. It's not just about all these shows on TV advocating for single moms and single women and promiscuity and all this and let love and let. They're doing this. All comes towards an agenda to create, to destroy the family, to destroy the community, and create government welfare throughout the whole country. Well, we have, if you don't get this, then you're part of the problem. I want to get your thoughts on this, Shelley. It's what she said. This is what we're seeing in cities. This is what we're seeing.
Exactly. This has been going on for a while. We were here during the Freddie Gray riots, and when she said that, give them space to destroy, that is exactly what she meant. And that's what they were doing. Teenagers, young people have got it in their mind that they can do whatever the hell they want, and they will not be held accountable. And guess why they think that? Because that is exactly what happens. They're not held accountable. They're given more. Again, they're giving more rec centers and dirt bike parks, and the squeegee kids, or squeegee people, really, the squeegee people, they get interviews and jobs and all kinds of private funding. When you have people out here working, trying to raise families, do the right thing, young people, families or whatever, but then you have our political class that wants to tear it all down. They want everybody dependent on them because they want to be in charge of us. They don't want independent thinkers. They don't want people to make their own money and not rely on the government. They don't want people to be able to afford their own families. They want us sucking off of the government's tits, okay? That's what they want. It's an agenda. It is an agenda. These are not isolated events. They may look that way. They may happen that way, but this is all part of an orchestrated agenda. It has come home to roost.
And something that is very interesting to me is because I see some of these people, talk to some of these people and have private one-on-one conversations or just conversations in general, and they tend to agree with what we're saying right now. However, when it comes to actually pushing these policies and doing their job to protect people, they don't do it. They give in to the agenda. They actually agree with what we're saying.
Right, because they say, you know what? Yeah, some of these parents out here aren't watching their kids, but you know what? That's their right, and they do it. You got Dylan Mulvaney changing. He's a woman. He's a girl. It's not going to mess with me. That doesn't affect me. Turn a blind eye. They want to push this trans agenda in the schools. A family is not a mom and a dad. That's not the basic unit of a family of structure anymore. It could be anybody, anything. That's okay. You don't need a mom. You don't need a dad. You don't need this. You don't need that. Turn a blind eye. Then we have this. This is clip number 5. Take a look. This is what leads up to this.
I will speak loud for those who cannot speak. I'm a proud he, she, they, them, whatever. I am a boyfriend to a beautiful woman. I am a girlfriend to a handsome trans man. And I am also a girlfriend to an incredibly beautiful woman. Growing up in this town, my mother always told me to love myself for who I am, not what I am not. Not all of us can be as lucky and have a supporter like that. In fact, I knew friends in school who would bring an entire change of clothes with them so they could dress the way that they felt inside and be free of persecution that they would feel at home.
Yeah. So that she, that person that we supposed to, let live and let live, they don't bother anybody. Da, da, da. So behind that, California School Board voted to uphold parental secrecy policy. Again, this is an attack on the family. Little stuff like this is an attack on the family.
And to people who are normal. It's also an attack to people who are normal and think normally.
Which says that school staff should not reveal a transgender student's gender identity to their parents without the child's permission. So, we living and let living, Kendra. What you got to say?
I don't agree with that. Like, I am 100, because first of all, like, I believe that parents should be aware of what their children are doing. But I mean, that's parental responsibility. When you birth or parent a child, you are responsible for their raising. And I think that it's a slap in the face to involve parents to be like, oh, we ain't gonna tell them that they today. We not gonna tell that part. Like,
that's not their responsibility.
Most parents don't even come up. First of all, I was like, okay, I used to work in the school, and none of the parents really showed up for the parent-teacher meeting. So I was like, well, this don't really take effect for a lot of parents because they not coming. They're not coming up there. They don't return phone calls. They don't respond to emails. So they ain't gonna know what's going on anyway until their child fail, and then you coming up there the last week of school trying to figure out why little Johnny got a 0 because he ain't.
Okay, so if we're forgetting about them, because they are obviously, like Shelly said, animals, and we're focusing on normal families who actually, parents who actually care about their children, but yet this still this agenda they're still pushing. Like,
I think that's true. I don't think that anybody should be able to govern how people parent their children. I think that when you
but you believe in the government letting everybody do whatever they want to do.
No,
but
that's
you
not
don't
what I
believe
said. I didn't say that. I said that I don't think people should be able to tell me that what I.
But that's what they're doing.
Right, but
that's what they're doing.
I said that's wrong because I don't think that you should be able to know more about my child than I know, and especially when it comes to their well-being. Like I think that's trash. I don't agree with that. Now, as far as the adults being trans, that doesn't affect me nor here nor there. But as far when it comes to children, I don't believe that that type of information should be withheld from parents. I don't think that the school should be able to allow children when they're not mentally and socially developed to make those type of choices for themselves. I think that it should be something that a parent and psychologists and all the people and all the things are there for. So no, I don't think that. I'm not the type of person that thinks the government should. No,
let me get Yana in on this.
I mean, you mentioned the psychologist, Kendra, and you know that the psychologists are actually behind all of this, behind hiding this information from parents. The psychologists are the one who are going to say, this is how this child is developing. This is this is who they are. The professionals are saying this, and so
and that's a problem. Like that's what I'm saying. No parent should have to be told, Johnny, his name Jessica, and
But why not? I mean,
because that's not their place. That is the place of the parent to raise their children the way they see fit, and when they're of age, they can choose to do what they want to do.
I'm just talking like along to what you were saying. So if being trans is no big deal and there's, as an adult, then why can't we tell the children that it's okay to be trans?
I'm not saying that you can't say that it's okay to be trans. What I'm saying is their parents should know that they're
Okay, so what
that's
if
what I'm
the
saying. I'm
parent,
not
what if
saying
the
that
parent says
like
there's
if
you cannot
I
be called
went to high
if you're
school with a boy. His name was Carlos. We called him Coco. He was fabulous. Okay, and nobody. It was no big. It was no big thing. Like,
Yana, what was your point, Yana?
I mean, my point is that so the child, the psychologists and the teachers will say the child is suffering. So if you're telling, if the parent tells Johnny that he cannot be called Jessica and Johnny cannot be wearing a dress and Johnny should be a boy, the teachers and the psychologists will tell you as the parent is that you are hurting your child. And so, I mean, would you say that they're wrong?
that's I would say that's wrong.
Why?
I
Why
don't
would you
believe
say
that
that they're
children
wrong?
should
Why?
be able to transition. I don't subscribe to that. And most people who are trans.
Okay, what if we're not giving them hormones? Okay, this is not about hormones. This is just about expression.
I mean, I think kids should be able to express themselves the way they want. If you want to, if you want to pay,
the parents says no. But the parents
a lot of these bills, I know a lot of these bills, they start off so innocently talking about, let's let the trans, whatever they are, use the opposite sex bathroom. So they start off innocently. And I noticed in that auditorium, a lot of the women behind that person, they were shaking their head in agreement. Again, going back to when I say a lot of the women are, co-signing this foolishness. Let me tell you what I told my daughter, and I'm going to tell the producers, get the bleep ready because I'm going to say it, okay? I told my daughter, if you go into a bathroom and you see a dick who's acting like a chick, he doesn't get to sit unless he takes a shit in his own bathroom, okay? So get out the bathroom. You call a dick with a dick acting like a chick. No, the only time you get to sit is in your own goddamn bathroom when you got to take a shit, not in the girl's bathroom. So I told my daughter that if you see one in there, you scream, you get out, whatever, and you call it out. He doesn't belong in there. This stuff is it goes off so innocently, and it's made to look and feel good and let's love everybody. Well, no, keep your dick in your bathroom. Okay, you can bleep it all out. If kids are listening, parents, I'm sorry, cover their ears. But I'm sick of this shit. Okay, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it too.
I'm sick of it too because we are allowing men to infiltrate with female spaces.
Right. Exactly.
We are allowing this. We are allowing
the only time a man needs to infiltrate and penetrate a woman's space, damn it, is when he's screwing her.
Facts.
I'm sick of it.
All right. Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, again, this is a situation once again where we have the state trying to take over the children. I mean,
what do we have left? Welfare.
And because they're already
making our children wards of the state.
We don't have anything left. We can't do anything with our own children.
So the hypocrisy, what I was trying to say, I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy going on. So it's okay for the trans adults to behave however they want and enter any spaces they want. But when it comes to kids, oh, no, we can't do that. All of it is bad. All of it is depraved. So, I mean, I think that's what I was trying to say is that when you pick and choose and you can't say whether you agree with the trans ideology or not, that's where we get confused. You have to make a decision whether you are okay with the trans or not okay with the trans. And if you're okay with the trans a little bit, then eventually it's gonna get to your kids as well.
Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying now. I see what you're saying. Well, that's the whole point I was making. It's like everybody wants to be, everybody wants to be inclusive or they say, you know what, this doesn't affect me. I want people to live and let live and all this type of stuff. And now we're here. We're here. I mean, I hope people understand that when they start keeping secrets from parents,
right?
The next point or the next step.
That's my problem. Is the secrets.
Right.
We've all learned, at least when I was younger, we learned that if an adult tries to tell a child to keep a secret from their parents, that adult is not trustworthy. That adult has an ulterior motive and is not a good motive, okay? It wants to, basically abuse their child. So why is this all changed now? Because you got dicks that want to act like chicks.
Nope, that's not even it. And this is what I'm saying. We need to look deeper. We have the state, which is the government, doing this. It's not just one-offs. This is the state actually putting forth policy to enforce keeping kids' secrets from parents. So what does that mean? It causes confusion within children, doubt. And then what does that do? That affects the structure of family. Exactly. So why are they doing this?
Ultimately,
because they think the children belong to them. And
ultimately,
ultimately,
what they're going to do.
You have generations of parents who have allowed and who depend on the government. So therefore, they're not going to push back because they're getting fed and clothed and breakfast, lunch, and dinner at schools. So they are dependent. So their mindset is different.
What they're doing is systemically making the children vulnerable so they can go in and do what they want to do with those children. And it's not going to be anything nice. It's going to be all abuse, all these things that we've been talking about. Pedophilia is coming next. And they're trying to make room for this so they can go in and abuse our children.
Yeah, and this is what Jan is saying. Because now we have this thing where they're pushing the trans identity as something that is legitimate, something that is just not an other. It's no longer an other. It's one of the, part of the fabric of a person or the type of person.
Society. It's part of the society.
Right. This is how they're trying to do it. And so before, if you were like, oh, I don't care about them, they're crazy or whatever. No, you can't even do that now. You can't even say that now. So they want it to be part of and legitimized part of the fabric of society. And then once you do that, then you can't say your child can't be trans. You can't do that because that's when they try to take the kids. I hope I'm making sense here because I get frustrated because I don't think a lot of people are connecting the dots. I don't think people are connecting the dots. But we do have to move on. But
eventually, it will be a crime. I mean, I think at this point, it's already in some places. It's a crime to intervene when your child wants to transition.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I want to just say this. I want to get you guys' opinion on this. I know we have to move on. I was talking to someone earlier today. It was a lady. She was talking about how someone had called Child Protective Services on her, and I think it was sort of, I guess, vindictive. But what they did was they removed the kids. They didn't go to another family member. They were put in foster care or some type of state ward. They were wards of the state when they did that. And it caused a lot of turmoil. And so she said, she was telling people, she was like, be careful when you call Child Protective Services on someone, because if it's not really an actual issue, you could get these kids thrown in the system. And so then, this was on a social media page. And then I responded and I said, we as a community need to stop turning to government, not because Child Protective Services is a government, it's a government institution or part of the government. And so it's just one other thing where the government has infiltrated our communities and we depend on this type of stuff. And it's not good. That's not really, to me, what the government is there for, to do. People depending on them for food, for assistance and things like that. And it's not something that's like a one-off. Now more and more people are doing that. And it causes a lot of bigger issues down the road. It's more harmful than good, I believe. And so Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Do
Well,
you get what I'm saying?
I've been saying that for years. It's supposed to be limited government. There is
Right.
a place for government. There's a place for child protective services, but
Right,
that should not be the norm. It should not be just the go-to, agency. I say that all the time in general about government. It's too big. It's too intrusive. It overreaches. And when I say that, people tell me, "Oh, I'm a rebel. I just want to break the law, whatever." No, I'm saying that government should not be the primary concern or focus in your life. Your children, your family should be. There is a place for government and laws, but not 99% of it. Should not be mandating and regulating your life.
Everything.
Yeah, well, I want to go into that. That leads us to the next topic, which is kind of like I want to talk about how do we come to our political leanings. So, most of us on here are on the right. I know Kendra is on the left, but
I'm in the middle.
Okay,
I voted for a couple auras, but
okay, in the middle. But I want to talk about how what is our political leanings, and then let's talk about how does this shape our political perspective on policies, law, and social issues. So we're talking about trans. We can continue with kind of these social issues as far as the LGBTQ. We can even because I know we don't have much time, but LGBTQ, abortion, sex work, things like that. I'll start with you, T. What's your political leaning, and then how does that shape your response to these types of issues?
Shelly, you see she put sex work in there too, right? Well, as far as my political leaning, I'm actually quite open-minded when it comes to liberty and people being who they are inside at their core, not outside and dressing up and stuff. But I'm actually I feel like we need some type of structure and some type of guidance and blueprint in order to be a just society. But I'm more like whatever makes sense. Facts, numbers, whatever the picture is painted, just make it make sense logically. Because otherwise, emotions they change. Just in general, but this is how I am, so leads to my political views as well. Just give me the facts, give me the numbers, give me the real shit. And then I'll base my conclusions off what's real, not what's emotional and fake and what you think it should be.
Okay. What about you, Yana? As far as you're on the right, and I forgot. Let me ask you. Well, I guess that doesn't matter really, but you're on the right. So, how does your political affiliation or the way you view things politically shape your opinion on policies, law, and social issues?
Well, for me, it really has been an evolution. So I did kind of go from more libertarian perspective, where I was also saying, okay, less taxes, limited government, which I still agree with that. Other than social issues, I was liberal on social issues in the past because for me that represented freedom. So, but over time, I have become more and more conservative on social issues as well, because I can see that this libertine perspective is actually being pushed from the left and from this Marxist agenda. In fact, when Marxism was developed by Karl Marx, he had very, very liberal ideas on what family structure should be, or there shouldn't be any, on gender relations. So all of these things that are liberal from and libertarian, they actually do come from Marxism, from what I have seen. So I cannot agree with that. And I think that eventually erodes, destroys the society. That has happened in the country where I grew up, where the society has degraded so quickly when these ideas have been inserted into the society. So I'm definitely more and more right in terms of policy, any types of policies, and also social issues.
Okay. What about you, Shelley? I want to get your thoughts on where you are as far as your political leading, and then how does that shape your political perspective on policies, laws, and social issues?
I think I have what I've come to call myself a political leanings, or whatever you want to call it. Generally speaking, I tend to lean more right conservative. However, I don't agree with a lot of conservatives on a number of particulars. I start with number one, being realistic, being practical, and I make distinctions between adults and children. I am stuck, if you want to call it, I'm stuck on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in our Judeo-Christian value system. I am for limited government. I do not believe that our country was ever set up, even intended to have government rule 100% of our lives, 100% of the time. That is not what I don't stand for that. So this is why I get into sometimes debates or disagreements with even my conservative friends on certain issues. I make a distinction between, again, adults and children. I don't have a problem with that. I am much more fiscally conservative, more so than I am socially conservative. I think if two adults or whatever consensus something, I don't think the government needs to be involved in it. Especially if it's not something that's breaking the law, and more importantly, intruding on someone else's freedoms and rights. So again, I'm much more aware of how a lot of these parts intersect. So I call myself a realist. A practical or pragmatist, if you will. And I want to say something, what Yana said about this idea of liberal. I am a much more of a classical liberal, okay, because classical liberal does not include Marxism. Okay, that wasn't created by Marxism. These are the foundations of our Judeo-Christian society. And we know a lot of times we put these words out here and we think they mean the same thing. They really don't. So again, I start with reality. I start with practicality, fiscally conservative, and socially, there are some guidelines, but I want limited government, less government intrusion. And I certainly want my money to stop going to a whole lot of foolishness.
Okay.
I have a question. Sorry. Oh, can I ask a question?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Shelley, so you've mentioned Judeo-Christian values. I'm just really curious, what are they?
So our Judeo-Christian values, again, we started with trust, or truth, I should say, truth, life, liberty. Those are the foundations of our Judeo-Christian society. I didn't say Christianity as a religion. I said our Judeo-Christian society, on which America was founded, off of the classical liberal values, virtue, things like that. I didn't say a particular religion.
All right. Well, you want to follow up, or I'll move on?
I mean, I don't know if those are really Judeo-Christian values.
Well, they are.
I mean, where are they? Which books?
If you don't know that they're Judeo-Christian values, then how can you be here defending America for its values? Because these are the values that we were founded on.
What is it? Truth and liberty?
Truth, justice, liberty, free. Yeah, free. Those are Judeo-Christian values. Yes, they are.
And that's it. Aren't there other values in?
There are plenty of other values. But those are some of the primary ones on which our country was founded. Classical liberalism, whatever.
Classical liberalism doesn't have to. I mean, I don't know if that's really connected to Judeo-Christian.
I didn't say a political liberal. Again, and I also said we mix these words. I said a classical liberal teaching. Look at the classic books, all the classic books, including the Bible. Yes, these are the foundations on which America was founded. Yes, I didn't say you had to be a particular religion. We've had this discussion before. And
no, wait. You keep saying she didn't say. She said the same thing you said.
No, I'm saying that. I'm saying that. I'm not saying Christian theology. I'm saying our Judeo-Christian values for our country.
Right. I want to get you in here, Kendra.
I was Googling Judeo-Christian to see what she was talking about. I'm sorry.
No, that's no. Well, when you say, to me, I mean, when they say Judeo-Christian, it has some type of biblical basis.
Right.
So, So, and again, I'm not smart as Shelley and Yana, so I'm not even gonna pretend. I'm just, going off of my
regular. I got regular Christian values. That Judeo part throw me out sometimes. Oh, but as far as
your political leaning and how it's shaped,
I am more center. I'm not. I think there is work to do in both political parties. I think that they have both come to a space where it's all about the people in office and not about the people in general. And I think that that is the largest issue with both of our political systems. So I am more center. I'm more fiscally conservative. I like my money. I like my money to stay in my pocket. And being that I don't have any offsprings, they tend to use my money for everybody else, it look like sometimes. So I am more fiscally conservative, but I am more in limited government. But I think that when I say limited government, I'm more limiting government when it comes to people. I'm more liberal when it comes to social issues. I believe that people should be able to do what their bodies, what they want. And I believe in that as far as abortion or whatever the case may be, as adults, me specify that as grown folks.
I think let me ask you this, because all of you have kind of mentioned that. You kind of mentioned that you believe as adult people should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies. So, I mean, when you think about that, when I think about that, I think about legalizing drugs. I think about, legalized prostitution, abortion. So those are three things. So drugs, prostitution, and abortion are three things.
I think weed should be legal. I think reefer should be legal. I think if people want to bust it open for pay, they should be able to do that too. And I believe that as far as abortion, that is a personal moral decision, and people should be able to make the decision that's best for them, their household, in their pocket. And I think that if you can't support a child, then bringing a child into the world and looking at our broken foster care system and some of the crazy adoption stories of how kids have been adopted and then treated poorly. Like if I was in that situation, I would rather not have a child than to wonder if they're out in the world being treated horribly by these people who are supposed to love them and care for them. So that's kind of where I sit, but I also make your own decision. I mind my own uterus. I just do
drugs. I want to say, Shelley, get you in here. So we talking about four things: legalizing drugs, sex work, abortion. What was another one?
It was three.
I don't know, but let me say this. One of the really important distinctions of the Western hemisphere, if you will, or the Western canon with our Judeo-Christian values, is that the individual in America has preeminence, if you will, the individual, not the group, if you will, as opposed to Christian theology where the family would be, but the individual gets to make the choices for his or her life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So on all of those issues you named, again, I'm okay with I said this many times, legalizing prostitution. I don't think it should be legal or illegal. If it's two adults, if I want to sell my body for whatever amount of money and I'm in my right mind, I'm not being, again, force, fraud, and coercion, whatever. Why should the government be involved with that? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Now, as far as legalizing,
you pay taxes on it, so I mean, it actually works out for the government.
My point is overall, in summation, my point is that again, government intrusion, overreach, oversteps, and tries to control, and it can't be. It was never intended to be. Guess what? As individuals, in our own right, in our own freedoms, we will and do make wrong choices, and we have to suffer the consequences of those choices. Nobody, no government can save us. A big safety net can do that, can save us from ourselves eventually.
Now, but what about okay, well, go ahead, Yana. Let me ask you.
Can I go back to the Judeo-Christian values? So I had to look it up as well, because so what it is, Judeo-Christian values is those values that are shared between the two religions, Judaism and Christianity. And what is shared specifically are the 10 Commandments. If you look into it, that's exactly what it is. I looked into Dennis Prager, and I know that you follow him. Dennis Prager has explained also what that means. And one of the things that he had mentioned is that Judeo-Christian values encourage, that's one thing, morality, universal morality. For example, a man-woman marital ideal, and be able to provide children with the opportunity to benefit from these gifts of a man and woman marriage, and not to have something like 2 men and 2 women or 1 woman. So these are the things, these are the values, like family values, family structure. I'm not talking about the government necessarily dictating people what we should be doing, but that is something that needs to be encouraged.
Where do we disagree?
Where we disagree is that you're saying that you haven't mentioned those values. You've mentioned
no,
freedom,
I said the foundations of our country.
You had said individuality. I'm talking about society.
The biblical values. Some of the biblical values that our country was founded on, and I also said, as an American, we still have the individual rights. We are not bound to go with the. I didn't say this earlier, but I've said it before. We're not bound to go with the group or the family as Americans.
No. But the conservative viewpoint weighs heavily on public interest.
And
so
you're right. Wait a minute. But no American, conservative or not, no American is obligated to only have whatever the conservatives say.
We're not a monolith.
Part of being American is being able to choose your belief system.
Right. Yes,
you can believe what you want.
They are Christian values. Those are the values of family, of family structure, of conservatism.
But Shelley also said that that's not the only values that she was talking about. She just called out a few. So family values, I'm sure, is one.
But the reason why our country has been based on that is because these things work. If we deviate from that, then we're going to get the Soviet Union, or we're going to get the European.
Well, we have deviated.
That is being destroyed right now. In Europe, you know what? They also talked about individuality and freedom and values.
But you have to realize that part of the reason why they came here is for religious freedom, and people come here so they can practice.
The country was founded on that.
Founded on freedom.
They were being persecuted by the non-religious, and this is what's happening here: is that the non-religious are now persecuted.
Because if we didn't, we would all be Catholic.
What was happening in Europe? So where are we gonna go? Where's the religious gonna go?
So when we talk about freedom, I think at this point we're taking freedom and liberalism to a whole nother level. From the foundation of what it means in the dictionary, not what they created it to mean in this day today that we're talking about with the alphabets and everything taken over. But this is what it looks like when we don't have a just society. This is what it looks like when people come in with all their different interpretations and confuses people with religion. And this is why I'm not religious, because people have their own interpretations and it messes up. That's where we're confused. That's why we're confused, because the Christians and the religious people have not stood their ground and stuck to the script. Now they want to go and do all these other things. And this is why we have this confusion that we have right now, because y'all not doing what y'all supposed to do.
First you said that this is why you are not religious, because and then you said the religious people need to stick more to what the religion. What is it?
Because you've gone far. No, the religious people has gone far from what they're supposed to be doing, and it's not even religion. Y'all take it too far. This is what I'm saying. Liberalism, freedom, and all these things. Religious people have taken it too far to make it seem like it's all just one thing.
Why can't you be more religious then? Why can't? Well, I mean, if you know what religion should be like, why can't?
Why would I?
Why
because
not?
I am. I'm spiritual, and I'm not religious. That's what I am.
No, I'm just wondering.
Because religious is something that you just do, and I'm not just existing. I'm actually very in tune with the Creator. I'm not in tune with what's in a book.
Oh, so where
how should the other Christians should be then? Should they not follow the book?
They do whatever they want to do.
You just told them that they should be following the book.
If the book that y'all do everything by. What you mean?
The question is, where your Creator come from? Where he come from?
Whoever, we don't know that answer. We try to create an answer with that. We don't know that answer. We don't know where God came from. We don't know what the Creator. We don't know how we got here. We can assume scientifically or what all that stuff is, but we don't know. We don't have all the answers.
So you can't blame the Christians for you being not religious. That's just your choice.
I don't know what y'all saying.
I know how I got here.
If you don't know your Creator, if you don't know who made you, who He is, where he came from, why are you following Him?
Well, first of all, wait a minute. I didn't say She didn't say
She's
that.
not.
I'm
She's
not.
not. But she's saying that Christians should because
Christian was
there's a
following. She said she
problem
knew the
that they
creator.
don't.
She said she
Yeah,
knew.
but whoever that is and whatever that is, I'm not giving it a name because we don't know the name. But what I'm saying is, if that's what you're doing and you're reading the book and you're doing this, then follow that all the way through. Don't mix up what you think it is and your interpretations and what you feeling one day and feeling the other day. That's like I said earlier, like facts are facts. Like we're not gonna go emotionally with your interpretation, what you might think it might mean.
Okay, but if
Like,
Christians do that, then maybe they will tell you that you should be a believer.
Christians don't have it together. Everybody, y'all saying different stuff.
But that is part of the Christian mandate to tell that. That's fine. They can tell people whatever they believe that they're mandated to tell. But in America, the other people that they're telling don't have to follow it.
Right. I never said that.
It's a choice.
Yeah,
And they can. And I don't think God will want us to be like bullying people, but like, oh, you gonna love God today.
Nobody's bullying. If people were
They
bullying,
create these fear tactics.
Nowadays, we can't even say anything because mind your business and everybody's individual and no, and it doesn't
We are
matter.
individuals, and you can say anything. That's what I said. Life, liberty, freedom.
They created these fear tactics to scare people into believing what they want them to
I don't
believe.
know about that because if it's not working, because you Christian, you can't have a Bible in school. You can't even pray in school.
That's because y'all slipping.
Oh, so it's our fault, not the people who choose not to do anything.
You
It is your
literally
fault.
just contradicted yourself. So you
No,
what
then.
minute you said? What
No,
minute you
then.
said Christians are bullies?
Shady. That was shade. It got real bright in here.
Yeah. One minute you said Christians are bullies, and that's when you said they.
I never said Christians are bullies.
Who said Christians were bullies?
Kendra said Christian.
I didn't
Kendra
say
said
that.
that.
You said that.
Yes, you said it.
You said that. T, I didn't say that.
You said
I
it.
never said Christians are bullies. What I said is they should stick to the script. What I said is
Who said
that? I'm doing the portion. Who said that?
Kendra said she doesn't believe that Christians should be bullied. I never mentioned bully. I literally never said bully.
I just said that God didn't want us to bully people, but I don't want no smoke or no shade my way. I'm just putting my sunglasses on. Okay.
All right, we have to go because we're at the end of our time. Good conversation, and now people see. I mean, we are on the right on most issues, but we disagree on certain things, and that's good. We're not a monolith. And again, we all come from different perspectives, different experiences, and we live in different lives, and that all shapes our political perspective. And so it's a great thing because we can have discussions like this and debate different parts of different religion, different political perspectives, different ideologies. And this is what it's all about. I mean, you really can't even do this anymore in public debate. People don't even want to do this. And then, be respectful about it. So I love the conversation. And again, continue watching and join the conversation by checking us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and subscribe. That way you get up-to-the-minute content when we post, and we appreciate the support. We are an independent media, and each time you subscribe, it helps make our voice that much stronger. We are a necessary voice in news and entertainment. Check us out on our website at popandpoliticslive.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. Happy birthday, Kendra. We hope you enjoyed your birthday. She's
Aries season. Gang. God bless America.
God bless America.
Yes, God bless America. And God bless Leo. There's nothing like a Leo. So again,
can you wait and listen to the Leos? Like,
it's not your turn yet.
It's coming.
We got a couple of months.
Yeah, it's always, people wait for the Leos, really. Until then.
Actually, Leos and Aquarians really do get along.
Fire signs and air signs in general get along, except Libra sometimes. I don't know about Libra, but
say that again.
Fire signs and air signs tend to get along anyway.
And the water signs, so yeah, we get along.
No water.
Fire and water don't mix.
I said Leos and Aquarians get along.
You're an air sign, though.
Yeah, Aquarius is an
No,
air
Aquarian is a water sign.
sign.
No, it's an air sign. Your symbol is a water bearer,
okay,
but you're an air sign. Yeah.
Where is he telling us? What else he telling us? We don't. All right. Good night.
I will speak loud for those who cannot speak. I am a proud he, she, they, them, whatever. I am a boyfriend to a beautiful woman. I am a girlfriend to a handsome trans man. And I am also a girlfriend to an incredibly beautiful woman.